Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
So Hillary has done her job. Now we need to do our job and get her elected President of the United States. Because here's where I want to get real. If Hillary doesn't win this election, that will be on us. It will be because we did not stand with her. It will be because we did not vote for her. And that is exactly what her opponent is hoping will happen. That's the strategy. To make this election so dirty and ugly that we don't want any part of it. So when you hear folks talking about a global conspiracy and saying that this election is rigged, understand that they are trying to get you to stay home. They are trying to convince you that your vote doesn't matter, that the outcome has already been determined and you shouldn't even bother making your voice heard. They are trying to take away your hope. And just for the record, in this country, the United States of America, the voters decide our elections. They've always decided. Voters decide who wins and who loses, period, end of story. And right now, thankfully, folks are coming out in droves to vote early. It's amazing to see. We are making our voices heard all across this country because when they go low, and we know that every vote matters. Every single vote, and if you have any doubt about that, consider this. Back in 2008, and I say this everywhere I go, Barack won North Carolina by about 14,000 votes. Which sounds like a lot, but when you break that number down, the difference between winning and losing this state was a little over 2 votes per precinct. See, I want you all to take that in. Because I know that there are people here who didn't vote. Two votes. And people knew people who didn't vote. 2 votes. If just 2 or 3 folks per precinct had gone the other way, Barack would have lost that state, could have lost the election. And let's not forget, back in 2012, Barack actually did lose the state by about 17 votes per precinct.
That's so close. 17.
That's how presidential elections go. They are decided on a razor's edge.
Yep.
So each of you could swing in this stadium. Just think about it. Each of you could swing an entire precinct and win this election for Hillary just by getting yourselves, your friends, and your family out to vote.
I love her. I could watch her all day. Why can't we vote for her? How come she's not running? What is the deal? Well, I'll tell you what the deal is. If she was running, Trump would have trashed her, and then you wouldn't have liked her either, and all the whiners would call up and go, I can't vote for her because she had a vegetable garden and didn't grow my favorite vegetable. Oh my. Okay, so that was really historic if you think about it. What you had this afternoon in North Carolina, where Hillary is at 47% and Donald Trump is at 43%. But he won't stop saying he's going to win North Carolina. And he won't stop saying that he's going to win Virginia, where Hillary's at 50% and Donald Trump is at 38%. And he must win these states. You know, if he doesn't win Florida, it's over. Florida is a very strange place. It's basically a tie here. It's a tie. The Real Clear Politics poll has Hillary ahead by 1.8%. That's how close it is here in freaking Florida. There's one poll, Bloomberg's, that came out yesterday, as you know, that had Trump ahead by 1 point. one point. This is all margin of error crap, and it all depends on who shows up and who doesn't, and how enthusiastic you can get your friends and family, and how, or are you going to sit there and whine and trash her and just, allow this man who should never get within a throwing distance of the Oval Office to actually sit in it. Sit in it. And please stop destroying his stuff. You know what? Did you see that thing yesterday where somebody destroyed the star that he has on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Why did you do that? I was going to pee on it. Don't do that. That's so wrong on so many levels. But people are, and some Donald Trump voters today, I'm reading in the New York Times. Read the paper, everybody. It's a good habit to get into. There's so much distortion in this campaign, and there's so many lies, and obviously Trump is desperate, because how else could you explain that he sat down with George Stephanopoulos? Okay, he hates George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos worked in the Bill Clinton White House. What the hell would he be sitting down? All of a sudden, he's giving interviews to ABC. Really? He won't talk to CNN, except yesterday he did talk to Dana Bash and called her rude, and said that she was asking him rude and horrible questions, and he finds her insulting. And I mean, it's always about him. It never has to do with anything that he wants to do for this country or how he will get it done. Never. I've never heard one thing from him about ISIS and what the secret plan is. He's probably got it on a shelf somewhere with all his tax returns that he won't release, so that we can't see how much money he's really put into this campaign. Although I will say his financial disclosure forms are kind of interesting. They do show that he borrowed almost all the money that he's bragging about that he put into this hotel. Okay, that's number one. And number two, he's running around telling George Stephanopoulos and anybody else that'll listen that he's got $100 million of his own money in this campaign. That is not true. He's got $56 million in this campaign, and it's borrowed money. It's not his. He took a loan, and he's going to pay himself back. So, with interest, he's going to make money on this campaign. And then he got all these right-wing lunatic think tanks buying his books, and he's still getting publishers' fees instead of donating the books and not taking the publishers' fees. I mean, the guy has got this working out for him so well. And yet, if Bill Clinton actually gives speeches and banks enough speeches so that, Doug Brand is writing him an email going, listen, we made X amount of dollars in the commercial market, and there's 66 million more to be made if you want to keep these. Somehow he's a suck-ass businessman. Somehow, the man who created 22 million jobs with a very recalcitrant Congress that impeached him, but was able to pass the kinds of laws that grew our economy, was able to pay off the debt, was able to run a surplus in the United States. He's the suck-ass businessman. But Donald Trump, who borrowed every nickel, every dime, Donald Trump, who claims $916 million worth of losses on the 1 year that we did get to see, which means that if Donald Trump lost $916 million and he's writing it off his taxes, that means you're paying for it. I'm paying for it. What a great plan. It's so ridiculous. But okay, so he sits down with George Stephanopoulos, and one of the first things he asks, George Stephanopoulos asks him is, how is he going to come from behind? How's he going to do this stuff? And Mr. Delusional.
13 days to go. How do you pull this out? Well, I think we're doing very well. The new polls just came out. We're leading in the lines, and all of the people standing on lines.
Oh no! Don't get glitchy on me. It's getting glitchy. All right, let me. I have the audio, I think, just not the video. So, he asks him. He says, "I can tell because there's people online in Florida." Well, Howard was online in Florida yesterday, and he was wearing an American Horror Story T-shirt. And the image was Donald Trump's disgusting, possessed face. And people were cheering him. And in Florida, this is a dangerous move because at the Deli Counter, you could get shot. Not by the people who work at the Deli Counter. Oh, no. They're on your side. They're on my side. By the people who are commanding that the Deli Counter slice the cheese thinner and do it faster. And they want the boar's head. No, not the salami. That I want Hebrew National. You do know, people at the Deli Counter, Donald Trump has said he'd stay neutral on Israel, right? You know that. He's not picking sides there. All right, just saying, Boca Raton. Just saying. But he asked him if he would finally say that he would respect the result of this election because it really doesn't look good for him. And he said, I'll wait and see. This isn't about keeping the country in suspense, you moron. This is about democratic tradition set by George Washington and observed by every single incoming president and every single losing presidential candidate since the beginning of the presidency. You know, George Washington didn't run for a second term. Do you know that? Do you know why? Because he said, we have chosen not to have a king, and I need to demonstrate that this new country, this new democracy can execute the peaceful transition of power. So I'm not going to stay for a second term. We're going to hand power over, is what we're going to do. But he asked him again, will you respect the vote? And again, he said, no, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I know you think you're going to win. If she wins, are you prepared to work with her?
I just want to make that decision at a later date. I'm not saying I'm not or I am. I just don't want to tell you today. I want to make that decision at the appropriate time.
I don't want to tell you.
Hopefully, I won't have to make that decision. I really believe we're going to win. We're going to win Florida. We're going to win Ohio. We're going to win North Carolina. I think we're going to win Pennsylvania.
No
you have
way.
to see what's going on in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I see.
The crowds and the people getting ready.
Crowds,
I think we're going to win Pennsylvania. I went to school there. I know it very well. I have amazing relationships. You look at the steel workers, the miners, they're all voting for Trump. I mean, she's against those industries. So I think we're going to win Pennsylvania, too. I think you will be very surprised.
Oh, we would be shocked, I tell you. Shocked because, now all of a sudden he's saying, look at the polls. Look at the polls. No, actually he's not. He's saying, look at the crowds. Look at the crowds. Well, you know what? If you had a voter registration drive on your behalf, if you had to get out the vote ground game, perhaps you could turn people who are trying to have a little entertainment in their life by going to one of your freaky rallies into voters. But you don't. And the polls are of likely voters. And you're losing in Pennsylvania. You're losing in North Carolina. These are all must-win states. These are all places he has to win. He doesn't have he better have very tiny feet because the path to 270 is like a tightrope. So you got to hope he's got little ballerina feet, then he could point his toes and he could walk like an America's Got Talent Romanian. Because this guy has no path, none. And then he asked him, about Mosul. Okay, let's talk foreign policy, Donald. Nobody dares to talk foreign policy to Donald, right? Because Donald has everything secret. It's all about secret. Because Donald doesn't understand strategic versus tactical, okay? He doesn't. You don't say where, and you don't say how. That's tactical. But you do say that you're gonna. That's strategy. And you do tell people when they live in an urban setting like Mosul, the second largest city in Iraq, you do tell them, we are massing 30,000 troops around your city, as you can see. And you need to clear out because we don't want the people who are going to stay to fight to take you as human shields. We also don't want to see women and children hurt. So please do leave the city right now as we get ready to conduct. And also, there's supply lines, there's tanks, there's ground forces, and they're not ours. And he doesn't understand that either. It's the Iraqi army and it's the Kurdish Peshmerga, who are Turkish. Okay, they're Turks. 500 of our advisors helping them with their military tactical execution. So he asked him about Mosul, and this was so disgusting, terrible.
So let's talk about Mosul. On Sunday, you sent out a tweet saying that the operation was a total disaster. The defense secretary is on the ground. He says they're making progress. He's encouraged by the progress. The former dean of the Army War College says this shows that Trump doesn't know a damn thing about military strategy.
The Army War College, let me tell you, the element of surprise. I've been hearing about Mosul now for 3 months. We're going to attack, meaning Iraq's going to attack, but with us, okay? We're going to attack. Why do they have to talk about it? Why can't they keep it quiet and attack? Now, as you know, the attack is being met with great, resistance because they were totally prepared, because the politicians are all talking about it, because Obama's talking about it. Don't talk about it. Element of surprise.
Okay, shut up. Element of surprise. You know what we used? So the strategy was to, invade France. We didn't say which beach. There's his beloved generals. He doesn't understand the difference between strategy and tactics. He just doesn't get it. So Hillary today talked about this and, how George Stephanopoulos also asked him about the Khan family and will you ever apologize to them? And he said, oh, well, I have so much respect for the Khan family, except not Mrs. Khan, because you said that her husband lords over her. And the reason she didn't speak isn't because she was shy or scared. It was because her husband prevented her to, because under their religion, women aren't allowed to speak. So he won't apologize, and he put them down again. And then he went on to say to George Stephanopoulos that Captain Humayun Khan would still be alive today if Donald Trump was the president, because Donald Trump was always against the war in Iraq, which George Stephanopoulos pointed out to Donald Trump is not true. Okay? And then Hillary got her turn today at the podium.
It just made me boil when Donald Trump disrespected a Gold Star family, Mr. and Mrs. Khan. He still hasn't apologized to them. He actually made it worse.
Yes, he did.
Just yesterday, he said again that if America had only made him president years ago, their son, Captain Khan, would still be alive. Honestly, I don't understand how anyone would want to rub salt in the wounds of a grieving family. And he keeps insulting our military. Yesterday, when he heard that a retired Army colonel and former dean of the Army War College said that Donald doesn't understand military strategy, Trump said, I'll teach him a couple of things. Well, actually, Donald, you're the one who's got a lot to learn about the military and everything else that makes America great. Starting by learning about the dignity and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform and their families. And he should learn from Michelle Obama how a leader supports them, not disrespects them.
Seriously, dude, how could you stand there and say you know more than the freaking generals, or that you studied war fighting, or that you're, up to the task of, conducting an operation like Mosul, which is going well. And yes, there's a lot of resistance. They sent their suicide bombers in to blow themselves up, which we think is a good thing, because that means ISIS is running into Mosul, not out, as he suggested, insulting people who are actually on the ground. Saying before an operation is even a quarter of the way through that it's a disaster. Everything in his world is the night of the debate, they played a drinking game. I don't drink during the way. I only drink on Friday night. Oh, Howard got so freaking toasted. Oh my God, he was drinking red wine. You know that red wine buzz? Ugh, it's the worst one because it's a gropey one. Come here, baby. Come here. But they drank every time he said disaster, and they got toasted. And then my friend Steve, he drank every time they said rigged, and he said he could hardly get up for work the next day. This is all he says over and over again. But if I would play the game, I'd say drink when he says, believe me.
Clear for takeoff.
Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.